Just the opposite.
Okay, welcome to Class 5, Session 2 in our class on Song of Songs. So we have entered into the Shulamite's journey into union and intimacy. We have realized that we are the Shulamite woman that Jesus, the bridegroom king, is pursuing. So the goal, as we go through the second session, is to continue with Chapter 3 of Song of Songs. We recognize that the Shulamite's journey is an amazing allegory for the path that every passionate lover of Jesus will find as his or her very own. Our goal is to equip each of you to read, receive, and respond to Jesus inviting you on the same path of intimacy through this powerful text of Scripture. It's like the language of God's heart to restore us to the original pure meaning of what the Scripture means.
Sorry. Remember how I asked you if you would be able to see this translation, and you said Laura had a book to look at? For our homework, it says if you would like to use the Passion Translation, you can access it for free online.
Oh, great. Okay. And you know what? Now that I think about that, I think I remember going and looking that up myself a year ago. So what Deb was just saying is in the homework exercise, it says that you can go online for free and read the Passion Translation of some of the songs. If you Google that, it's there for free. So, sure. And like I mentioned, the last thing too, St. Bonaventure has a beautiful thing on the Song of Songs. Now it's from the 1100s, I think, so it might be a little harder to read that, but I think it also gets into just, I just know for me, I had a faulty understanding of God and my relationship with Him growing up. It's been a slow, He's been very gentle and patient with me. So, okay. So, at the end of the song in chapter 2, the bridegroom king wants to take her away, but she turns him down. So we're going to pick right up here again with chapter 3, verse 1. So here's the Shulamite. And she says, night after night, I'm tossing and turning on my bed of travail. Why did I let him go from me? How my heart now aches for him, but he is nowhere to be found. So I must rise in search of him, looking throughout the city, seeking until I find him. Even if I have to roam through every street, nothing will keep me from my search. Where is he, my soul's true love? He is nowhere to be found. Then I encountered the overseers as they encircled the city, so I asked them, have you found him, my heart's true love? Just as I moved past them, I encountered him. I found the one I adore. I caught him and fastened myself to him, refusing to be feeble in my heart again. Now I'll bring him back to the temple within, where I was given new birth, into my innermost parts, the place of my conceiving. So what is the key here in what we just read? He is nowhere to be found. So what is this? This is a depiction of the dark night of the soul. This is the experience of an absence of the awareness of God's presence. Now, some Christians believe that this is a punishment of types, of sorts, but it's not at all. The temptation of a dark night is to try and fix ourselves and to make ourselves worthy to receive Jesus again. And I know I've certainly gone through times of that, where the prayer just becomes dry and, I was experiencing all this beautiful stuff with God, and then I just wasn't anymore, and I was like, man, what did I do wrong? What was it I did wrong? Well, that's self-righteousness, when I feel like it's my fault. Because it is a grace. It is a grace when he gives it. It's a grace when he takes it away, because of whatever reason, he wants us growing into it. He wants us seeking him. So St. John of the Cross coined this phrase, the dark night of the soul. But note well that he calls it a dark night of the soul, and not a dark season of the soul or dark years of the soul. And so what does a Shulamite do? She gets hungry. She gets hungry. She resolves to seek after him. To what extent does she go? She resolves to roam every street. Nothing will keep her. And there's a beautiful illustration of this in Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 13 through 14. You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord. Okay. The experience of the dark night of the soul is an invitation to seek after the Lord in all your heart. And the good thing is he will show up again. So when we hit those dry spells, we hit those hard times, we just keep showing up. We just keep staying present. We just keep going back into prayer. We just keep asking for more. Because he's going to come again. He just will. He always does, It's just a matter of, just staying patient. Staying patient with him. Now, I do think there's some people, I don't know, I can't remember if it tells us or not, but I do think there's some particular souls, like Mother Teresa, who did go into this dark night for years and years and years, but she was given very, very particular graces to be able to do that, because it had to do with her whole mission and part of what she was about and part of what we can learn from that as the body of Christ. And so I do think that it happens with some people, but I think God still gives the grace to be able to go through that. So here we hear the bridegroom king. Promise me, O Jerusalem maidens, by the gentle gazelles and delicate deer, that you'll not disturb my love until she is ready to rise. So sometimes you can go into a dark night and you can ask God questions. Why is this happening? And we just need to be content that sometimes Jesus won't give us answers. He'll only give us intimacy. So what's the context? The bridegroom king gets rejected of his invitation for her to come away with him. Then she seeks him out and finds him. And how does he respond? Let no one disturb her until she's ready to arise. In other words, where we would expect anger or punishment, the bridegroom responds with sweet patience and gentleness. Jesus, you are so patient with me when I don't follow you. You never push me too hard. So when we learn here that Jesus always deals with our issues from a place of patient intimacy. And if he deals with us and our issues that way, then how should we deal with others and their issues? It's something to think about, just growing in that patience. Something struck me tonight when we were saying the Our Father at the end, and the words, those who trespass against us. And I was thinking, ooh, it's like our heart. Our heart is the garden of our soul. Our heart is the essence of us. And how are we when somebody trespasses into that and hurts our feeling or hurts something? They trespass into that area. And how do we receive that and how do we respond to that? So anyhow, that's an interesting way to look at that. So the voice of the Lord. Who is this one ascending from the wilderness in the pillar of the glory cloud? He is fragrant with the anointing oils of myrrh and frankincense, more fragrant than all the spices of the merchant. Look, it's the king's marriage carriage, the love seat surrounded by 60 champions, the mightiest of Israel's host. are like pillars of protection. They are angelic warriors standing ready with swords to defend the king and his fiancée from every terror of the night. The king made this mercy seat for himself out of the finest wood that will not decay. Pillars of smoke like silver mist, a canopy of golden glory dwells above it. The place where they sit together is sprinkled with crimson. I mean, if you just listen to those words, I mean, it sounds like the Holy of Holies in the Old Testament, but it also sounds like, being with Christ in the Eucharist, with adoration, Eucharistic adoration. Love and mercy cover this carriage, blanketing his tabernacle throne. The king himself has made it for those who will become his bride. Rise up, Zion maidens, brides to be. Come and feast your eyes on this king as he passes in procession on his way to his wedding. This is the day filled with overwhelming joy, the day of his great gladness. So the marriage carriage in the original Hebrew culture would have been the equivalent of one of those platforms carried by 4 big buff guys throughout the ancient cities. So what else can you think of? Well, we kind of already mentioned this. Being carried throughout Israel that had a golden canopy and was surrounded by angels. It was the Ark of the Covenant. This is also an image of what the secret place looks like. The Ark is a prefigurement to the reality that we become as temples of the Holy Spirit. Our divine intimacy occurs in this temple. It is a marriage carriage of romance and intimacy. Recently, I finished reading a book on St. Catherine of Siena, and there was somebody at the very end that was a close friend of hers, but she did not know that St. Catherine was dying. Nobody had told her. But she had this dream that came to her, and in the dream, there was this tabernacle, and she saw 2 angels go up to the tabernacle, open up the doors of the tabernacle, and this woman came out of the tabernacle. And the woman stopped in front of her, and she said, "Don't you know who I am?" The woman had a dream. She's like, "I'm St. Catherine." She didn't say Saint, I'm Catherine. I'm Catherine of Siena. And then the angels took her on up to heaven. And so then, the next day or two, the woman found out that St. Catherine had died. But because she was a dear friend and she didn't get to be there with her when she was dying, she was given this gift instead. That is so neat. That's in the spiritual realm, I guess how we would be. We would be this tabernacle. The angels come to me. It's like, woo! Anyhow, okay. So, let's move to chapter 4. So here's the bridegroom king speaking. Listen, my dearest darling, you are so beautiful. You are beauty itself to me. Your eyes glisten with love, like gentle doves behind your veil. What devotion I see each time I gaze upon you. You are like a sacrifice ready to be offered. When I look at you, I see how you have taken my fruit and tasted my word. And that again sounds just like, there's the Mass, hearing the word, receiving him in Eucharist. Your life has become clean and pure, like a lamb washed and newly shorn. You now show grace and balance with truth on display. Your lips are as lovely as Rahab's scarlet ribbon, speaking mercy, speaking grace. The words of your mouth are as refreshing as an oasis. What pleasure you bring to me. I see your blushing cheeks open like the halves of a pomegranate, showing through your veil of tender meekness. When I look at you, I see your inner strength so stately and strong. You are as secure as David's fortress. Your virtues and grace cause 1,000 famous soldiers to surrender to your beauty. Your pure faith and love rest over your heart as you nurture those who are yet infants. I mean, really, when you think about it, these are God's words, God's inspired words, and he's saying this is how he sees us. I mean, that's just like mind-blowing, you know. You know, I think if we can accept these words, believe these words, one, I think we see God in a whole different light, but we also see ourselves in a different light. And it can bring us into a place of confidence and strength to know how he sees us, you know, to not keep looking at all the negative within us. But it's like the deeper you fall in love, the more you don't want to be those ways, you know. So here's the Shulamite. I've made up my mind. Until the darkness disappears and the dawn has fully come, in spite of shadows and fears, I will go to the mountaintop with you, the mountain of suffering love and the hill of burning incense. Yes, I will be your bride. So after their first romantic encounter, she is afraid of following him. But what does he do? He continues to woo her, to pour out his love, to be patient. She comes to a point where she can move beyond fear and join her beloved. So what was the key? She sought after him. She spent time with him. We learn from him that when we are with him, we are with perfect love. And John said it best in 1 John chapter 4, verse 18. There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear. So here's the bridegroom king again. Every part of you is so beautiful, my darling. Perfect is your beauty, without flaw within. Now you are ready, my bride, to come with me as we climb the highest peaks together. Come with me through the archway of trust. We will look down from the crest of the glistening mounts and from the summit of our sublime sanctuary. Together we will wage war in the lion's den and the leopard's lair as they watch nightly for their prey. For you reach into my heart. With one flash of your eyes, I am undone by your love, my beloved, my equal, my bride. You leave me breathless. I am overcome by merely a glance from your worshiping eyes, for you have stolen my heart. I am held hostage by your love and by the graces of righteousness shining upon you. How satisfying to me, my equal, my bride. Your love is my finest wine, intoxicating and thrilling, and your sweet perfumed praises so exotic, so pleasing. And you know, I think like with Jesus, you know, sometimes for like when you're first dating or you're first married or something, you know, your spouse can do everything so wonderful and so perfect, but then after a while, you know, now it kind of sets in and, you know, you start. But with Jesus, it's always that first love, the way he looks at us. That never changes with how he looks at us. We're always like the first love with him. You're always on the honeymoon. It's always on the honeymoon. Yes.
I just find it really, you said it might be harder for the guys, I get it. I find it very difficult to feel God considered us as equal. One of the things I've always, kind of kept me in my place is kind of just trying to understand God and who he is, making sure I know my place. Not that he doesn't want us to love him with all of our heart, mind, soul, and strength, but just that I find it very difficult to find that this particular passage of being equal to God, very difficult for me to understand, just because I put him at such a high place. And I just find it difficult. I find this passage difficult. I mean, not in a, I don't know, maybe it's not intended. That's what I don't see this as being intended as a relationship between me and God. I see this as a relationship between me and my wife, right? She is my equal. But I understand there's probably a poetic sense of equality as well, possibly. But I find it very difficult to get past that, knowing how weak, horrible, and awful that truly I am in comparison to God. You know?
Yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying, and I have had those same kind of questions myself. So I'll just share my own personal way of taking that to prayer, which I would invite you to take that to prayer.
Yeah.
So just for the sake of the recording, the question is, having a hard time with this saying that God is calling me his equal, or that he is calling us his equal. And, there's parts of scripture where Jesus goes through and he explains that a slave does not know what the master is doing. But a son does, a daughter does, because he invites them in to hear all of that. And so I also have stayed with that for a while, trying to understand that. And what I kind of arrived at that I feel comfortable with is, if you look at a healthy married couple, then it's a healthy relationship, and there's something going on with one of the kids, you're going to come into a conversation together. And, it's not going to be one or the other bossing the other one around or calling all the shots. Because if you have a husband and wife with a family and they love their kids, they're going to be talking about it together. Like, what do we do? How do we handle this? And to be honest with you, I think that's what God would love from us, is here's this person, here's a child, or here's this person at my work, or here's this person that is really struggling, or they've made some wrong choices in their life or something, and you take that into conversation with Jesus. You're taking it into conversation with him and be like, Jesus, this is what I see, and to me it seems like the best thing to do would be this, and how do you feel about it? I think he would welcome that kind of conversation all day long. I think he would welcome us to really come into very frank talk about how to handle somebody. So yes, God is God and we are not. But what saint was it that said, if we could see each other how we are as light, that we would want to fall down and worship each other because of how we really are. Not because of what we've done, but because of what he has done for us. So that's kind of my way of looking at that is, and we're going to get into this next part here. So we go into this time of intimacy and our relationship, but we are also called back to battle. And he talks about that the war in the lion's den, the leopard's lair. And so I think that's, I don't know if that's something you can accept or not, but that helps me feel better about, he sees me as his bride, he sees me as his spouse, and there's others around me, and there needs to be very frank conversation there on how to move ahead with something.
Yeah.
So does that help?
Yeah.
Yes, so
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think there was immediately as you were asking the question, I think what came to my mind is you were like, you placed him at a place where you don't think you're equal with him, right? I think he also placed you at a place where he says you're equal with him. It's really where both of you are placing. It's like telling your child you have equal access to me. In literal sense, you're not the same size with your child. You are not whatever. But you're saying you have a right. I want you to negotiate with me on this level. For me, that's how I see that. He placed us on such a high place that he took a real child to die for us to kind of elevate to that position. So really, that's what I see going on here. In literal sense, we are not.
Right.
But because he gave us this, he raised us to this level.
Yeah.
It's now a loss if we say, I ain't taking this, you're offering freely. Do you understand? I feel like you'll be missing out.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit, it will take a while to absorb. And it's not like I believe it every time myself. But I'm just saying, if you look at it a little bit, you see that he's literally giving us this, and he already paid a great price to raise up to this level.
Yeah,
it's a little bit loss if we don't.
Yeah.
Like, Christ didn't die for us to cope. It's a little bit, let's conquer, let's get the best out of it, because, you know.
Yeah, and when you think about we've got to be honest about ourselves and where we're at, but we do not want to take that as a condemnation,
Right.
because that gets us stuck and slowed down, where we recognize what we've done and we sincerely tell God we're sorry, we are trying to change that, and through what he has done for us, we can be freed of that, or continue to keep walking to be freed of something. And I think walking from that place of freedom and lack of fear, then we're truly walking as how he intends for us to walk, So, and I think Jovita was giving a great demonstration there also, So hopefully that helps some.
Oh yeah, no, it does.
Okay,
Very good.
okay, great, good. Good question, it's a really good question. Okay, okay, so here, let's just go right in and address sort of on this. So, they go to a high place, and from there, they wage war on the enemy. So make no mistake, your royal identity does not end in the wedding chamber. It moves on to the place of battle. We start in the secret place, and then we go out and wage war. In John, John chapter 13, verse 23, lean back. So one of them, the disciple whom Jesus loved, was reclining next to him and leaned forward. In Matthew chapter 11, verse 12, from the days of John the Baptist until now, the kingdom of heaven has suffered violence, and the violent take it by force. And so when we think about it, how does that change our perspective? And this is kind of a little bit what I was just saying. How does it change our perspective when we step into our day, when we go out into wherever it is God is calling us, when Jesus leads us? He is leading us. Kind of like what Laura was saying tonight is the victory king. He is leading us in that victory. Or he is walking beside us. Or he has our back. That beautiful St. Patrick prayer, the shield, Jesus before me, Jesus be behind me, Jesus be within me. I don't know what the words are because I've changed them, but Jesus be above me, Jesus be below me, Jesus be to my left side, Jesus be to my right side. If that's where we're at, in reality, if that's where we're at with God, and if we don't feel like we are, it might be because we stepped over here believing a lie about him or about us. It's not true. But if we're there in that with him, then it just gives us confidence, to step out and move and do. Because we are. It's a battle. We're in a battle. And so here's some more of the words. So this is still, again, coming from the bridegroom king. Your loving words are like the honeycomb to me. Your tongue releases milk and honey, for I find the promised land flowing within you. The fragrance of your worshiping love surrounds you with scented robes of white. My darling bride, my private paradise, fastened to my heart. A secret spring are you that no one else can have, my bubbling fountain hidden from public view. What a perfect partner to me now that I have you. Your inward life is now sprouting, bringing forth fruit. What a beautiful paradise unfolds within you. When I'm near you, I smell aromas of the finest spice. For many clusters of my exquisite fruit now grow within your inner garden. Here are the 9 pomegranates of passion, henna from heaven, spikenard so sweet, saffron shining, fragrant calamus from the cross, sacred cinnamon, branches of scented woods, myrrh, like tears from a tree, and aloe as eagles ascending. Your life flows into mine, mud pure as a garden spring. A well of living water springs up from within you, like a mountain brook flowing into my heart. So our life with our King produces fruit. Fruit that is so pleasing to him. How many fruits? 9. 9. But the first fruit is first for him. So whatever is flowing from intimacy with Jesus, it is first for him. And then the Shulamite bride. This is a beautiful, powerful prayer of surrender. Then may your awakening breath blow upon my life until I am fully yours. Breathe upon me with your spirit wind. Stir up the sweet spice of your life within me. Spare nothing as you make me your fruitful garden. Hold nothing back until I release your fragrance. Come with me. As you walked with Adam in your paradise garden, come taste the fruits of your life in me. And I just want to interject here real quick. So oftentimes I think, our heart is the garden of our soul. It's like there's Eden inside of us. God is coming back and he is restoring that relationship. It's almost like out of the side of Christ on the cross, where his side was pierced and the blood and the water is coming out. It's like you can see that as vines and life. It's like the new world being created out of his side. Just all of that coming in new. The new creation. And that restores that relationship of walking with God in the cool of the evening that we hear in Genesis. So the bridegroom king, I have come to you, my darling bride, for you are my paradise garden. It's almost like on this side of the veil, I think that's what it is. Our hearts are like we're back in that garden with God. It's the Eden that we carry inside of us, and allowing him to go in and redeem and restore the different parts of our heart and our life and our mind. That resurrection, I think there's all these different places in our heart that God needs to resurrect and bring new life out of, and so yes, there will be the second coming and our bodies will be reunited with our souls, but it can even happen now. The heart is being restored, renewed, recreated. Okay. So the Shulamite bride, she's talking about the spiritual life. So come walk with me until I am fully yours. Come taste the fruits of your life in me. And so as I mentioned, this is like the language of surrender. When we get to the point where there is no fear and we say, your kingdom come, your will be done, may it first be done in my life. So we are called to bear fruit. So we are Christ's first fruit also. He is the first fruit. We are his first fruit from his death and resurrection. Then we moved on to chapter 5. How are we doing on time here? I'm going to talk really fast. Okay, so the bridegroom king. I have gathered from your heart, my equal, my bride. I have gathered from my garden all my sacred spices, even my myrrh. I have tasted and enjoyed my wine within you. I have tasted with pleasure my pure milk, my honeycomb, which you yield to me. I delight in gathering my sacred spice. All the fruits of my life I have gathered from within you, my paradise garden. Come, all my friends, feast upon my bride. All you revelers of my palace, feast on her, my lovers. Drink and drink and drink again until you can take no more. Drink the wine of her love. Take all you desire, my priest. My life within her will become your feast. So he produces this fruit in us for himself, and then he invites others to receive our fruit. In Mark chapter 3, verse 14, he appointed 12 that they might be with him, and he might send them forth to preach. And so how do we finish this? All fruitful ministry flows out of intimacy with God. All fruitful ministry flows out of intimacy with God. Our intimacy and time with him produces fruit. Our fruit is shown in our ministry. When our ministry gets dry, and it is a sure sign that we need to go back to the secret place with our beloved. So many people are anxious that they don't know how to bear fruit in prayer. So here's one way to look at that. Does a grapevine get anxious that it won't produce grapes? Its only job is to remain on the vine. If we abide in him, then we bear fruit. We do not have to strive. We just remain in him. The more we remain with him and in him and with him and through him, the more we become Jesus. My favorite translation is in Psalm 46:10. Cease striving and know that I am God. Just be still. You can't strive in bearing fruit. Just abide and receive. So here we see the Shulamite bride. After this, I let my devotion slumber, but my heart for him stayed awake. I had a dream. I dreamed of my beloved. He was coming to me in the darkness of night. The melody of the man I love awakened me. I heard his knock at my heart's door as he pleaded with me. And the bridegroom king says, arise, my love. Open your heart, my darling, deeper still to me. Will you receive me this dark night? There is no one else but you, my friend, my equal. I need you this night to arise and come be with me. You are my pure, loyal dove, a perfect partner for me. My flawless one, will you arise? For my heaviness and tears are more than I can bear. I have spent myself for you throughout the dark night. So one of the most common responses of powerful ministry, of being poured out on the world around you, is that you can lose your devotion. You can fall asleep in your relationship with him. You start burning the candle at both ends, and too many distractions and too many things on the to-do list, and, or we're pouring ourselves out. But if we're not taking that time to go back and be with him, it will drain us. It will drain us dry. Where is that imagery of he will come and knock at the door of our heart? That's also in Revelation, chapter 3, verse 20. When Jesus comes and he knocks on the door. Jesus does not want us to stay in the dark night. He always wants to come and refresh our heart. So let's see what happens. So here is the sleeping bride. I have already laid aside my own garments for you. How could I take them up again, since I've yielded my righteousness to yours? You have cleansed my life and taken me so far. Isn't that enough? My beloved reached into me to unlock my heart. The core of my very being trembled at his touch. How my soul melted when he spoke to me. My spirit arose to open for more of his touch. As I surrendered to him, I began to sense his fragrance, the fragrance of his suffering love. It was a sense of myrrh flowing all through me. I opened my soul to my beloved, but suddenly he was gone, and my heart was torn out in longing for him. I sought his presence, his fragrance, but could not find him anywhere. I called out for him, yet he did not answer me. I will arise and search for him until I find him. As I walked throughout the city in search of him, the overseers stopped me as they made their rounds. They beat me and bruised me until I could take no more. They wounded me deeply and removed their covering from me. Nevertheless, make me this promise, you brides to be. If you find my beloved one, please tell him, I endured all travails for him. I've been pierced through by love, and I will not turn aside. And so what is this talking about? This is talking about persecution. Persecution from others. It's almost like the more we fall in love with God, the more we respond to things. There may be people that are like, you got that a little bit too high. You just need to kind of back that off a little bit. Or you're just being a little too holy. You're just being a little too religious. You're being a little too whatever it is. Why do you, whatever. But it's coming into that place and experiencing his love, and that's what begins to move us. It's like coming to that place of persecution is you kind of just, you don't care because you love what you've tasted, and you love what he's done for us, and that's where you're going. It's like you've chosen to be all in. I'm going to be all in. So then we hear the Jerusalem maidens, the brides to be. What love is this? How could you continue to care so deeply for him? Isn't there another who could steal away your heart? We see now your beauty, more beautiful than all the others. What makes your beloved better than any other? What is it about him that makes you ask us to promise you this? And the Shulamite bride says, he alone is my beloved. He shines in dazzling splendor, yet is still so approachable. Without equal, as he stands above all others, outstanding among 10,000. The way he leads me is divine. His leadership so pure and dignified as he wears his crown of gold. Upon this crown are letters of black written on a background of glory. He sees everything with pure understanding. How beautiful his insights without distortion. His eyes rest upon the fullness of the river of revelation, flowing so clean and pure. Looking at his gentle face, I see fullness of emotion, like a lovely garden where fragrant spices grow. What a man. No one speaks words so anointed as this one. Words that both pierce and heal. Words like lilies dripping with myrrh. See how his hands hold unlimited power, but he never uses it in anger, for he is always holy, displaying his glory. His innermost place is a work of art so beautiful and bright. How magnificent and noble is this one, covered in majesty. He's steadfast in all he does. His ways are the ways of righteousness, based on truth and holiness. None can rival him, but all will be amazed by him. Most sweet are his kisses, the Holy Communion, even his whispers of love. He is delightful in every way and perfect from every viewpoint. If you ask me why I love him, O brides to be, it's because there is none like him to me. Everything about him fills me with holy desire, and now he is my beloved, my friend forever. So there's been a clear shift in the Shulamite bride from where she was in the very beginning to now. There's been a very clear shift in how she speaks of the bridegroom king, and she speaks with strength and understanding. Every time she speaks about him in previous chapters and extols him, it is always in relation to what effect he has on her. In this passage, she shifts from only speaking about the effect he has on her to praising him for who he is. There is a shift from thanksgiving to praise. He is understanding. He is pure. His speech is anointed. He is powerful, magnificent, bright, noble. There is no one like him. I am his, and he is mine. So, now it's time for our activation. So we went over a lot of stuff tonight. It was a lot of stuff. And I know for me, I could not take all of this at once. I mean, I'm so grateful. I've been reading this book, going through the Song of Songs since January, so reading just a little bit at a time because it's intense stuff. And I think we've all experienced the exhaustion of the Shulamite bride. For a lot of us, we may be experiencing it right now, but let's not hide from it. Let's enter in and know what's waiting for us to go that place of being poured out or burned out. And think about it and become aware of how we've been asleep in our own devotion, our time with him. So that's the place where we want to go in this activation. And as we experience it, bring your fatigue to Jesus, or whatever it is there that you're struggling with. And as we linger with the Lord, I'm going to read the bridegroom's response. Before I do that, I'm going to read this real quick again. It's the homework. So you're going to enter into the place of the Shulamite bride, read and pray with the final 3 chapters of Song of Songs, pause and let Jesus woo your heart. And you can use whatever translation you prefer. As David mentioned, if you want the Passion Translation, you can access it free online. Just Google that. But spend that time with him and let him just go in and move. Okay, so I'm just going to.
Is that too dark for everybody? Is everybody okay?
It's good, yeah.
Okay.
Now, we are pushing right up against 9 o'clock, so if you need to go in a few minutes, that's fine. But if you'd like, you can stay and just linger in this. And then if anybody likes, they can come up and take a picture out of this book that I was telling you about. It's just really it's just this really, really beautiful conversation between you and Christ on the cross. It's, I think, very powerful. Okay, so find your prayer position and come into place with him. And so here's Christ talking to you. Arise, my love. Open your heart, my darling, deeper still to me. Will you receive me this dark night? There is no one else but you, my friend, my equal. I need you this night to arise and come. Be with me. You are my pure, loyal dove, a perfect partner for me, my flawless one. Will you arise? For my heaviness and tears are more than I can bear. I have spent myself for you throughout the dark night.
Okay, it's a few minutes after 9. You're welcome to stay longer if you want. You can always go up in the Eucharistic Adoration Chapel. Just make some notes for the last gave you and take those into prayer. And if anybody would like a picture, and you'll have to, sorry, I made a couple of lines on it, but it's this page here, and it's just Christ on the cross, talking to you as an individual, very personal. And so you ask him a question, and he answers. And I just thought it was really, really beautiful. So if anybody wants that.